If you want to find moment zero for the sector rotation, it probably came when Mike Wekerle and Paul Sparks teamed up with Neil Johnson to put Difference Capital together. Difference has raised almost $200 million to date and added some very smart people to its roster, Tom Liston, Tom Maxwell, and Dusan Petrovich. Today we've got the CEO of Difference Capital, Neil Johnson, and the chairman, Mike Wekerle, on the way up. Give them a big hand.
First, I'd like to thank the Academy and you, actually. Well, and 54, thank you. See, it's funny when I look around the crowd here, and I think there's an obligation to people that either hired or worked with to be here because they know I'll hunt you down. Great to see you, Mike. Great call to the market too, my friend. Good afternoon. Everyone knows, well, you just got introduced, so I know who I am, and I'd like to thank Nick Waddell and the rest of the Cantech team because it's important to have these conferences because I think we're at the beginning of a sectoral move, and it's important not just for the fact that we can make money, not the fact that we can flourish companies with capital, but because we're going to create jobs for a lot of great people that are coming out of the universities. And being a single father of 6 kids, I think it's really important that we all look at the bigger picture, looking out over the future. One of the things that I'd like to talk about is talk about difference at first, because it leads into why I think this section is really important. Started Difference Capital in June of 2012. Now, I saw there's a lack of funding, mid and small cap companies, which has been my mainstay. I don't think anybody's raised more capital in mid and small cap companies than I myself. And I'm not bragging, I've done this for 32 years. As people say, I'm older than dirt. There's the younger faces on currency sometimes, but I wear makeup today, and that's because they wanted me to. Is that awkward? World? Well, we want to see Difference Capital and capital as emerging markets and opportunities. The growth sector was falling off, and we saw that tech, media, and healthcare was underfunded, underprovided. A year and a half later, we raised approximately $200 million, and what I've seen over 32 years is cycles. Marked by many cycles, you see a bottom in a sector, and, it's usually fearful. One of the things in the markets is there's two things in the market that I've learned very early in life by losing a lot of money is fear and greed. And once you take that emotion out and you do the opposite, you buy fear and sell greed, you understand how to make money. And one of the things you find, and I'm surprised the amount of people that are actually coming here to listen to me, because usually there's not that many people, which is why I got into the tech market in 2011, 2012, as I did in the mining market as I was at GMP and moved into that sector in 1999 and put a big push and increased our presence. I think that, being a contrarian is sometimes right, but like I said, Seymour Schultz had a great line. He said, Mike, integrity, honesty, loyalty are the key strengths to make money. And once you do that, you will make money. But the key thing is that, have conviction. And the tech teams that I've seen here have survived since the meltdown in 2000. And I think one of the key things I've seen a company that's been around since that era and has grinded through the marketplace. He said, sometimes wrong, but never in doubt. It's a great statement. So leadership is one of the key things that you have, and I think we have great Canadian companies. We have founded a great group of young Canadian entrepreneurs that came out of some great universities, and I think that's one of the key things. If I go back to, like I said, back to the late 90s and gold was $300, not one person would have talked about a gold stock or a mining stock or a material stock and a potash stock, and, I don't think people knew what potash was at the time. And, you look at companies, and I've been in 2 companies my whole life. I started First Marathon in 1982 and followed on with a group of great partners in 1995. And a lot of the guys in this room who worked with me at GMP, and I was very proud to say I'm a part of a great company that created a lot of great entrepreneurs, and they're all spread across the street, and I think we're very fortunate to have them here. Every gold stock on the planet at that time was less than the market cap of Microsoft, and when you look at things, it's relative value and absolute value. It's an art and a science, but sometimes you've got to use both, and a lot of it has to do with common sense. One of the things that I look at is, what is the reason why things happen? And the last cycle was driven off an incredible demand that came out of a change in a political and geographic sector called China and India, and it drove a lot of material demand. And like anything, when things move, all boats rise. but there's no sign that ever says, the market's going to change. And having seen it changing and not noticing it, when you lose money in certain sectors, you understand very quickly that, next time it's not going to happen. Well, it took me 3 cycles to figure that out. I'm sure a lot of people will say the same thing here, because if we were always correct, we'd be sitting on a beach in Bahamas, making bets on a, carrier pigeon, because that's the way the market treats you. There's only 2 things in the market you need to understand. You need to be there for 2 reasons: to buy or sell. Other than that, the rest of it, having been in front of a screen for 32 years, the rest of it is all noise. You find a good company with good leadership, with proprietary knowledge or first mover status. Hello, Ty. It's good to see one of my old friends here on the resource sector here. The smartest man in the room, definitely smarter than me, Ty Bird. Sorry, Ty, I just owe that to you. And I strongly believe, and I'm on record in 2012 stating that, the market's going to change. I changed my investment strategy back, and a lot of the movements I made in 09 to 011, people looked at me like, and what's wrong with them now? And there's probably a few things that people will say is wrong with me, but the investing side is actually I'm pretty good at. I tell people about one-trick pony, but it's a good trick. I've never hammered and nailing, never painted a house, and hopefully I had 2 tricks. But, the U.S. market usually leads the Canadian market by 12 to 18 months in my history. The market stalwarts like Cisco, Microsoft, Apple have already started to move. I look around and the positive performance and the anticipated performance came out when Facebook was about to be launched. It was much anticipated, and the market had a gray market for a year, which is probably its biggest mistake. And maybe the biggest was the fact that every insider and participant was selling the stock, which is never a good sign. I don't care what the answer is, but when insiders sell a massive amount of stock, whether they say it's estate planning or whatever it may be, I call no in a nice political, nice way. And I think that, when you look at Facebook, which I call now face plan, it took the market by surprise, and I think that it took a little bit of the market exuberance on the tech market, which started, and it got me to kind of sit back and make, some decisions that I wish I didn't make at the time, because, one of the stocks that I bought, I don't want to say the name, but the gentleman who's the analyst is here right now, and he's just going to forever remind me of this. And, I bought the stock at an issue, I think it was $1.25 or $1.15, and I think I sold it at a great price of $1.19 net, and it's now $6. And I realized that, this is a cycle, and the cycle has to get away from trading. And when you see a cycle that goes for a minimum of 8 years to a maximum of 12 years, and we're at the beginning of a great cycle. And you look at what happened post that, you see the likes of Twitter that, again, the valuations is based upon what the market will pay for. It's like artwork. And when it opened up 73%, I knew the market had changed. We haven't seen that since the mid-90s or late 90s, and I think that, that's a very decisive change, and, history repeats itself. Google became the bellwether, new innovations at Apple inspired by a great innovator and Steve Jobs, and a list of new IPOs that led the 2012 and 2013 bull market. I think we're at a situation right now where we're just starting to see the interest come back in here, and it's funny how the investment bankers start to switch from the resource sector back to the tech sector, and all the promoters take all the mining stocks and become shells for tech stocks. We've seen it go back and forth, and that's why I like the Canadian market. It's one of the things that we're a small fish or a big fish in a small pond. Yet I think that the Canadian entrepreneurs have always been at the leading edge, and the Canadian entrepreneurship never gives up. I know everyone in the room is in the same mindset. The demise of Northern Telecom, the downsizing of RIM, Difference Capital strongly believes in the dream of a new tech boom. Today in the Canadian landscape, that failure, people have criticized the press, they've criticized it in speaking, they've criticized it as a group. But again, I remember guys like Art Mesher at Descartes that, when everyone else abandoned the stock and the market cap was trading below cash value, he asked me politely, he said, Mike, please don't go. And at that point, I was very locked in. I think I'd been close to in those days, you didn't declare the position you have, but now it's a little more stringent. And by that time, I was all in. I couldn't leave. And he did an incredible job taking it from a market cap of $70 million to almost $1 billion. And what a great career when somebody not only takes a company and transforms it, but creates a new landscape in Federated Networks. He's a good friend. I spent some time with him yesterday in Waterloo. And one of the most impressive things about Art is his conviction and his ability to look at a situation and integrate people as an entrepreneur and share his ideas with people, especially the younger generation. And I'm very proud to be a friend of him and Jim's and all the other entrepreneurs that came through Waterloo and Ottawa and say, this is an opportunity. You know, Nortel has spawned a lot of entrepreneurial companies. Research in Motion has and will. We have Magnet Forensics. There's a whole bunch of companies that came out of the group of Research in Motion, and I think it's going to be even better and more to come going forward. Difference has seen this opportunity. We think it's a world-class universities environment in the likes of Waterloo, Western Queens, University of Toronto, McGill, Ottawa University, McMaster, and that is the crux. And I think that one of the things that Canada has done is really put its dependency and through philanthropy and through hard work has built a great system for engineering and otherwise to make Canada the premier tech company outside of New York City and Menlo or San Francisco. So I'm very proud to be a part, and very proud to be a part of what went on in the last cycle, and I think this cycle is going to be better because we have people that really care about the sector, that were participants in the 90s, but now are active in the 2014 market. We see around in different scale made some investments, the strengths of the entrepreneurs, the amount of equity, the sense of alignment. We find it's a different environment where I think you see ownership and we see pride coming back in the marketplace, which is the key things of making money. I think this has helped ourselves attract some people in the marketplace. We have a great team at Difference, but I think that right now it's a thriving market, and if we look around, I think there'll be a lot of new Difference capitals coming up, whether it be in the form of a merchant bank or a brokerage firm. I know there's some great people in this room right now, and I encourage everybody to look back and say, hey, you know what? It's low-hanging fruit. At one point in time, this was 50%, and other sections were a lot less. Now we're on our way up. And I said, the one thing I do know about micros is follow the trend as your friend. And I think we're on a great road, especially for the young kids here in this room. I think it's one of the most exciting times. One of my good friends who mentored me, and when I was starting a hedge fund, I started a small small mutual fund company with Paul Sparks in 2011 when I left GMP. I thought the hedge fund and the 2 and 20 was great. He looked at me and he just shook his head. He said, I financed McDonald's when they had 6 restaurants. I was the second hedge fund and second private equity fund in the world. His name is Tony Forsman. His brother Ted Forsman, who's recently passed away, ran Forsman Little. He ran Forsman Left. And he said, back in the early 80s, we put a statement, and we published a statement, and they published many statements, but this is the one I really took to heart. And he said, the tech entrepreneur, as a creator of the new and a destroyer of the old, is constantly in conflict with convention. He inhabits a world where belief precedes results and where the best possibilities are usually invisible to others. His world is dominated by denial, rejection, difficulty, and doubt. And although, as an innovator, he's increasingly imitated when successful, he always remains as an outsider to the establishment. He is usually found to be disturbing and irritating, even unemployable. Yet, ideas and dreams of his become the new reality, and the ever-changing world surrounds us. If he knew the hurdles and friction he would endure, he might never have ventured. But then venture is grappling with the unknown. Well, the tech market is back. And that was a gentleman who's 74 years old. His younger brother passed away, and he's now come back as a special advisor to our firm. And he's excited to see the youth and the exuberance, and there's going to be a lot of interesting people. And I think that one of the key things here, it's, there's 2 types of dollars, monetary dollars and physical dollars and emotional dollars. Sometimes the emotional dollars become more valuable. And I think what I see here for the first time is great companies that believe in each other. They got great teams. I've seen a lot of companies from Ottawa to Waterloo and across Canada, and I think that right now I've never seen the ability with these companies which is not driven off physical dollars, but they want to win. So congratulations for all the companies we've invested in. Hopefully we'll invest in many more that are here at this conference. Nick and Denny, I thank you for inviting me here to speak, and I wish everyone here the opportunity to spend some time with all these companies here. They put a lot of hard work into the work they've done here, and I'd like now to introduce Neil Johnson to come aboard here and do the more literal and accounting speech of Difference Capital, Neil Johnson.
I'll do this.
That's a hard act to follow. It always is. But our we wanted to do two things. We wanted to tell you what we think technology and why tech is back and what we're doing about it. And I've got the second half of that is what we're doing about it. And as Weck says, I don't have quite the anecdotes from the trading floor as Mike does. But while Mike was boldly predicting what was going to happen, this is what we saw. You know, we saw that while our lives were being transformed, the way we shop and communicate and actually work, with one measure up 575%. You know, the funding, the lifeblood of the companies trying to take advantage of this revolution was drying up, and the venture capital funds being raised in this country was down 80%. And on the public market side, we had a great year in 2013 in tech, but in 2012,